And I don't get why you can't admit that. A trained agent should be able to extract themselves from a vehicle unassisted. Upside down or not.
You're still doing this, huh?
Yeah, because you need to hear what I'm saying.
I've heard you. I'm sick of hearing you. You know what your problem is, Lieberman? You think you're always right. What you want is you want to hear me say it, and that shit is not gonna happen.
So you think the fact that Agent Madani knows you're alive isn't an issue?
Why? She was unconscious, man. What did you want me to do?
If she was unconscious, she would have seen your face.
Okay, she was unconscious and she wasn't unconscious.
What? Okay, our lives just got way more complicated. If Homeland Security enters your name into the system, let me ask you, how long do you think before Agent Orange knows that?
Well, maybe you should have stuck to the plan.
Right? You were driving right at her. Was this stupid, bullshit, macho game of chicken part of the plan? If they catch you, I don't see my family, so I made a decision.
That's it. See, what you want is you want me to get your shit done, but what you do is you bust my balls. You are relentless. You nag your wife like that? I mean, are you sure that she wants you back? Are you sure?
Oh, come on, man. Come on.
I'm out of here. Maybe while I'm gone, you come up with some new ways to antagonize me with your bullshit.
Where are you going?
I think I'm gonna go see your wife.
See, now you're trying to be hurtful. You don't have to be such a dick all the time.
Hi everybody, welcome to Panels to Pixels. We're bringing you episode number 5. We're continuing our Netflix episodes of The Punisher. We're doing number 5, which is called Gunner. We have Steve Brown. I had some issues with my computer, so obviously this track was recorded a lot earlier. I had to go back and salvage, and I got what I can. We made do with what we had. We have a top 5. We have our opinions, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
The other thing we've got going on is the fact that Madani, who she now knows that Frank Castle is alive, we saw that at the very end of the previous episode, she has told her partner, convinced her partner that the Punisher is alive, and both of them have now lied to their superiors about knowing that the Punisher is alive, that Frank Castle is the one out there doing this, that he's the one that took these guns, that and I never got what the acronym AIG or IAG, whatever it was, stood for, as that was investigating their work, you know, and so we get this idea that there's these millions of dollars of guns out there, and they're trying to figure out why, how did the operation mess up, and both Madani and her partner lie about the fact that Frank Castle was there. Then the other salient point of this episode is we get the hunt for Gunner. And Gunner is the other member of Cerberus who is out there. And they all kind of find him at the same time. Micro finds a deed to this guy's family's land, and that he's got a cabin that he's hiding out in. And he gives Frank the address. And apparently at the same time, Mr. William Rawlins, our Agent Orange from the Cerberus flashbacks, has found the address as well and sends some men to attack Frank and Gunner in the woods. And we get a very tense scene, or another battle scene, really, but it's on home soil of Frank and Gunner fighting together against these CIA mercenary types. And dispatching them pretty handily, but unfortunately also getting some wounds of their own and losing Gunner.
Gunner seemed to be like such a key point in everything so far, and that's what this whole episode revolves around. We actually do get to see him, and we get to see a lot of what's going on with Madani and her investigations and what she's been giving up on, like information. And we're starting to see a little bit more into her, especially in the very beginning when you see her with her battle wounds. You know, she's trying to, like, you know, after that encounter with Frank and everything else.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Is there anyone in real life, and maybe I'm the only one, but when I take aspirin, I just swallow them. I've only seen in movies and TV where people take aspirin and start to chew them in their mouth before they even try to swallow them.
I I've never
Ugh.
done it myself. And I think the first time I ever saw something like that with painkillers was the original Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck.
Exactly. I remember people talking about that scene as well and going, why? Why do you chew up that stuff? It just, I don't know. It's always confused me why TV. Maybe it's just because they want to have that crunching sound effect, but it always just sends a chill down my spine whenever I hear somebody crunching aspirin like that or painkillers.
Yeah, it's just too weird for me. I can't really handle that kind of thing. I remember my aunt, she had to take all these pills because she was dealing with cancer and everything, and they were like horse pills, and she was like, it's like,
Yeah.
you got to swallow them. That's the whole thing. But, it's like I saw that, and I was watching, but the bruises seem real to me, honestly.
Oh, those were gruesome, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the bandage across her chest, and just it just looked like that was one of the things that I thought was interesting. That when she has that moment with Bill, where he starts to undress her, and he sees all the bruises, and she just kind of shrugs them off. That I wonder how many of us. I guess you can get swept up in the sexual attraction of it, but there's going to be a point where you go, look, you're obviously in pain, and I don't really think we should be doing this right now,
I don't know. Some people have some strange, weird things like about that. That's weird.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's like, there's always that Queen song, Pain is so close to pleasure, so.
There is that.
But, it's like, I'm sorry, if I'm in pain, it's like, go away.
Mm-hmm. Number 5 would be Micro and Frank, their little disagreement at the beginning about him pulling Madani out of the car. And Micro makes a statement about a trained agent should be able to extricate herself from a car even while hanging upside down.
Oh,
And
cool.
I kind of thought, you're not a field agent. And that was just kind of funny, that whole back and forth with them about, and then Frank saying, well, she was unconscious, and then him going, well, if she was unconscious, how did she see your face? And then Frank coming back, with well, she was unconscious, and then she wasn't unconscious. So.
Yeah, it's like he didn't really know where to go. Actually, that's where my number 5 is about Madani showing her physical wounds in the beginning of the episode. And obviously that led into what Frank was talking with Micro about that. It's pretty funny how, you see Frank and he's talking about how he gave up who he was and that he's alive, and now and he was like, and Micro going, how does she know you're alive?
Right.
And it's such an interesting, sort of events, and then, Madani continuing on to her investigation. And then, and then seducing somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Her showing up at work, and the guy, I'm still not exactly sure what exactly his relationship is to her. I don't think he's her biological father, but obviously he has some dealings with her outside of the building, the Ravi guy that says, well, I told your mom to make you stay home or something like that. And she's like, well, I've got to work. I've got to do this investigation. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your number 4?
My number 4 would be the introduction to our Agent Orange. We get this very Sam Raimi-esque close-up of his face, and we see that scar and that glass eye or whatever he has in his eye socket, and he's talking to these new CIA recruits about what they're going to face, and he's giving them a briefing or a speech or whatever it is, and it's really interesting that we see him get that medal, and it's that standard. It's almost become a movie or a television trope with CIA workers where they go, okay, here's your award. Now you can't tell anybody. We're gonna go take your medal and we're gonna put it in a case and drop it in a hole somewhere or something like that. Like I think that was introduced in kind of the Tom Clancy books. Was the first time I saw that idea of you have this Medal of Valor, but you can't tell anybody about it, and nobody's going to know about it, and we're going to put it in a secret safe that nobody ever will see. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like one of those where it's like, hold on, you have this code and nobody can talk about it, and, you know, you don't have your own life, you only have this. And,
right.
Yeah, it's, it kind of like separates you and turns you into two different people at times, and, you know, that really affects people, and I'm sure it affects a lot of people in the military who do undercover work, or anybody in, you know, police or FBI or in the CIA, and it kind of throws you off as a person. But,
yeah.
Yeah, and now it's like you're looking at this, and it's like, this is all straight military. How do these people go back home to their, you know, loved ones and resume a normal life?
Exactly.
So, yeah, it is kind of off-putting. Yeah, I could see that. Well, my number 4 was Madani actually interviewing Karen.
Yeah, I had forgotten totally about that scene, so go ahead, because I've got my comments about it.
So basically, it was Madani literally grilling Karen about Frank, trying to get more information about Frank. And Karen just outrightly telling Madani that, hey, Frank has a code. You know, it's not the code that anybody else has, but, you know, it's like he has, you know, Frank opened up to Karen as a person, and he shows how he feels about the world and references a situation where his son drew a painting of things about, you know, literally about what the war is, and how the kid was like, you know, you're protecting us, this and that and the other, and he goes, it was a beautiful painting, and it's this and that and the other, and he was all happy about it, but also pissed off because it's showing anger. And the fact that, you know, you have to be angry at the right people and do the right things for those people who can't for themselves. And he started realizing what he was doing in war was for the right reasons, but they weren't for his right reasons. And then he started realizing, okay, I'm doing more for my cause now, helping those who can't help themselves, and on top of that, righting a wrong. And then, you know, basically Karen stating to Madani that, you know, it's like Frank has a code. There's some sort of code of ethic, but it's not your general code of ethic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's trying to do the right by those who can't do for themselves, and on top of that, righting a wrong.
Yeah.
But it might not be in the right way to do it, but it's his way of doing that in order to, you know, make a point. So, you know, that to me, it showed a lot about Karen. It showed a lot about Madani, actually, when you see them interact within that actual scene. And then, on top of that, shows a little bit about Frank himself, too, because it's another person's view of Frank. And Karen is the outsider who knows Frank as a person, other than Madani, who's just investigating the person that she knows through military and all the events that have happened through Daredevil and on. And now we're seeing that as as another idea of Frank. And it's really more true to the character itself. So that's something that doesn't really play out until later on. But that was my number 4.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I kind of went back and forth in that whole exchange between her and Frank later, and I wondered if she was maybe a little jealous of Madani, of the fact that they have this kind of, I'm not even really sure to call it romantic or what, but it's definitely not. But you know, Karen was definitely the only woman in his life, and now all of a sudden there's another woman in his life, kind of thing is kind of the way I was looking at it. But that's great.
Yeah, well, what you're saying is pretty much is that Frank was respecting her on her ability, Madani's ability to like investigate, be very upfront, be physical in the sense of violence, whereas Karen, all she does is investigate, look, be compassionate, be a
Hmm.
person, and Frank doesn't really convey those things as much to Karen. So there is a bit of a jealousy, I think, in there. It's just that it's like there is nothing sexual or any. It's more. I don't know. I gotta say that it's got to be something more romantic in some way, but I don't really see any romance. Is it? It's more of envy from Karen's point of view of Madani.
Yes, yes, that's what I was getting at. I think was more of that kind of thing. Is that it's a Madani gets to see uh, or interact with Frank in such a way that I'm not even sure how to put it. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out the rest of the season, and then going into the future as well. Um, that's great. My number three is it's kind of just a real quick one, and it's not really my number three, but it's my next on my list here of things. Was I actually know someone who has named their child Gunner, but it was a female child that they named Gunner. So I don't.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. But so I thought of that when I heard because I thought when he kept saying Gunner, I thought it was maybe a nickname. But then when Madani shows the file to her partner, the partner says, "Who named their child Gunner?" So that makes me think that it's his given name is Gunner, which that's kind of interesting. So.
Well, you have to also figure there are other people out there in this world. One that was somewhat famous. Yeah, not spelt in the same way. This is Gunner, as from what I could tell, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there's also Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
what.
You're right. I
Yeah,
hadn't thought of that as a foreign name. Gunner or Gunnar. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's or maybe this guy was brought up in a military family. Who knows? He was out there with a bow and arrow. He had a compound bow.
Yeah, that was interesting. We have the name Gunner, the name Gunner, and he's using a bow. So
Hey, it doesn't necessarily have to revolve around a gun.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I know I have a friend of mine who is in the Navy, and he's an officer in the Navy. He's actually a pilot, but he just came back from spending a year and a half where he was launching planes off from a carrier, an aircraft carrier, and that guy is called a gunner. So, yeah, there's a lot of different uses of it. So what's your number three?
My number three would be, basically Karen and Frank, the relationship. Frank opening up to Karen. That one scene where he's talking to her, he's got his hoodie on, and he's just talking about his own family and what he's trying to do and what he's trying to accomplish, and using his son as a reference. To me, it's the show is opening him up as a character of who he is, what he's trying to accomplish, what he's trying to do, and obviously this is a man who is hurt, just like everybody else, and him trying to stop anybody else to being hurt just as much as he is, or as well as Micro, or anybody else by whoever's trying to do this to him and Micro, actually, at this point, or anybody around Frank. Because if you think about it, anybody that Frank gets involved with, and that's why he's afraid for Karen, is that if anybody around him will be an open target. And nobody wants that, and Frank doesn't want that, and that's why he's always playing the distance card. That also goes for his friend Curtis, if I'm correct, the one who was helping all the military guys, the one with the missing leg.
Yes.
So he has the same feeling for Curtis and Karen and anybody else who he gets involved, but he tries to keep them at arm's length. The only person that he doesn't keep at arm's length actually is Micro, and you could see that their relationship is getting more and more. Micro is starting to know more and more about Frank, going, hey, I know you like these nuts and this and that and the other. And then there's Micro who goes, where did you get that? And he goes, I got this. This was what I made this. I got this out of what was in the refrigerator. And he goes, and he was just like, it seemed like Frank was mad. You didn't get one for me?
Yeah. No, I thought you liked those. Okay, let me just go on record. I don't care who you are. If you say you like MREs, there's something wrong with you. Yes, I have been where in a pinch, if you need something to eat, yes, they are, and they can be, and I'm using air quotes, good. Okay, but nothing beats a great little hero sandwich there. So
exactly.
Yeah, their relationship is really becoming really, really close and really tight, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out the rest of the season and then into the future if this continues between him and Micro, because they are really, because it didn't take much for when Micro says he wants to come along and Frank's like, no, it didn't take much for Micro to convince him convince Frank to let Micro come on the trip.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of pushing, and there's that last comment, I think it was last episode when he's got the gun and he says, you don't take your partner's gun and do that. And Frank said, well, we're not partners. But now we're starting to really see that there is a partnership developing between them, I think.
Yeah, they definitely are having this relationship, and they are starting to rely on each other. So, and that comes through when Micro comes through at the end. Not to give any spoilers, but with the drone.
Yeah.
And everything that's going on.
Yeah, he pulls out that drone, and it's interesting. I didn't catch that the first time around, so when I watched it this time, I was watching for it, and Frank's the one loading up the van, and at the last minute when he says that Micro can come, Micro grabs that extra case, an extra couple of cases, and puts them in the van, and I think that's the drone that he was putting in there, because Frank wouldn't have had any reason to bring that drone.
No.
And so I thought that was really interesting. I caught that this time of seeing him specifically put that case in the van, and then he pulls it out later to use it. And
yeah, it definitely shows a camaraderie. They're actually getting along in some ways, and they're able to work off each other. And you saw something in Frank when he saw that happening. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knew something was there. So
yeah, and he started to see the benefit.
Yeah. He could actually rely on somebody that's on him on the same wavelength and the same page. But
exactly.
Will he admit to it is another thing.
Right. Well, and we're going to see going forward, we're going to see even more of that in the next episode when we see that's the next episode. So
yeah.
So are we up to my number 2?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And I've got to read this because I can't remember exactly the scene that all this came up, but it basically looks like Micro really wants to conclude this with bringing these guys to justice, and he's starting to see that can happen. That there's a way, that there's it's in that conversation with Karen actually that Frank is having when she says, you can't just kill all these guys. You've got to bring them to justice. They've got to see the light, because if you just kill all of them, there's going to be another guy you have to kill. And I think we've already seen that with Wolf. He killed, well, actually, if you go back to Daredevil, he killed the Colonel, and then realized, oh, wait, now I've got to kill this guy Wolf. And then he kills Wolf. Well, now he's got to get to the next guy. And the next guy, and there's always going to be a next guy if all you're doing is killing. You've got to bring these guys to justice and that's the only way you're gonna stop it. And he doesn't see that yet. He doesn't see that being a viable conclusion, at least for him.
Yeah.
Do you agree, or?
No, I agree. Yeah, definitely. So, that's up to my number 2, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
So, my number 2 would be Frank talking to Gunnar. When you actually meet Gunnar, actually, Gunnar is that typical, I came from war, I have PTSD, just like Frank does, but he has sequestered himself in a cabin. And Frank is aware of all the booby traps and everything else. You see the trip lines and everything. And he's aware of it, and he sees them. And then next thing you know, he gets an arrow in his shoulder. Just like as we spoke to before, it's like he said it before. Gunnar has a compound bow and winds up shooting Frank in the right shoulder. And he's like, "Oh, damn!" He goes, "I'm sorry for the." And it's like, at least he was sorry about it. But Frank was able to talk him down, and next thing you know, he's got Gunnar on his side, and he's explaining to Gunnar this is what's going on. But you actually see the little fortress that Gunnar has done, and Frank is able to help him with all the traps that he had created to survive, just escaping from that world. You know that he was running from something, and Frank knew that, and Frank knew that he had some of the answers, which some of them he got, I think, in my opinion. But
absolutely, yeah, for sure, and that's the other thing that we learn with Gunnar, with finding him, is we learn. We knew there was something to do with drugs. We knew there was something to do with Kandahar. But what Gunnar does is Gunnar puts it all together and is actually going to bring or give Frank the next guy who he's able to go to try to find Rollins. And that's that he tells that story about the kid with the knife, that he says, this kid gave me his knife and I went to return it because he was dead, and I discovered them putting drugs in the dead body. And that's what he reveals. That's why he sent the tape. That's why he sent that CD to the NSA or whoever Micro was working for, that he sent them that disc, because he realized this has got to come out, that these guys were doing something illegal. And we get the name, he says, I think he called him Bennett, was what he said, the mortuary, the guy that ran the mortuary, because Frank says, well, who was down there? And he says it was Agent Orange, it was Schoonover, and then it was the head of the mortuary, this Bennett. I think Colonel Bennett is what he said.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot came out and a lot of information, but it's still, if you think about it, it's still a map, a road map for Frank to get where he needs to get to the end of his journey. And that's really what this whole season is about. It's a whole roadmap for Frank to get to the truth of why he was, targeted, why he was being sought after all this time. So, now that he's survived, he becomes the one that's going to be like, all right, I'm going to put the targets on you.
Yeah.
So, that's really what it boils down to. So, after he gets this one person, he's going to get another. And that's
right.
It's a never-ending road until you get that final one person that he needs to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this develops in the future. I know both of us have watched the entire thing, but I've not gone back and rewatched anything past what we're doing. So I don't remember exactly how all of this plays out. I remember some of it, but so it's good to find this out. It was, and again, now we go back to, now I understand the comment that Micro made all the way back in episode, the Kandahar episode, when he says the heroin was just to finance what the next thing was that they were doing. And now we know, okay, now we've got that tie-in to where we've got it all, we're all putting it together. We're starting to put the pieces together as well.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Does that bring me to my number one, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Really, we've kind of already talked about it, but just that whole road trip aspect of Frank and Micro together in the van, the conversation before they left, the Micro saying, well, I can help you drive, and we don't ever actually see Micro drive. But then we in the whole discussion about the sandwich and the MRE and the fact that it was really interesting that there was Micro. He opens the MRE, he's mixing up the stuff, and Frank says, Are you done with that? And he's like, No, I got to get it thoroughly mixed for you. And so he finishes mixing it and then gives that to Frank, and then he pulls out his sandwich and starts to eat it. And Frank gets this look on his face like, what are you doing? Where did you get that from? You got this wonderful looking sandwich. He's like, well, everything was there. You could have made yourself one. So yeah, just that whole road trip idea was really good. That it reminded me of kind of the Stranger Things thing where you have Dustin and Steve doing their little trip, and just other 80s movies where you see guys on these trips together where they don't like each other, but they end up helping each other out in the end. So what was your number one?
My number one was literally Micro coming to Frank's aid with that little drone.
Yeah.
That showed a lot of promise, and it showed a lot of bringing them together. As that look on Frank's face and him knowing, okay, I have somebody who's got my back, and I have theirs.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a respect there. Because Frank, and I don't know if you got this in the episode when he said he was going to go, oh, I guess I'm going to have to go see your wife. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Micro was just taking it as like a stab in the back, and he was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, whatever. It's like,
now you're just trying to be hurtful. Yeah, he says something like, now you're just trying to be hurtful or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like he's got something that Micro can't do, which is go to his wife, but, it's like, Frank's got that, but, it's not really Frank. He's playing somebody else, but...
Yeah. And that's interesting. That plays into one of my notes that I had, is just that idea that Frank is not, in a way, Micro is what's the word I'm searching for? He's living through Frank. And at the end, what we see, or towards the end, when he's waiting for Frank, he's reading the book that Frank and his daughter had discussed.
Oh yeah,
Life of Pi.
Yep, I didn't realize that.
And I had it took my second viewing to realize, I was like, what is he reading? And then I kind of paused and I could see the cover of the book, and I was like, okay, I never saw the movie, but that's the whole one of the kid and the tiger on the raft. Yep. And I guess at the end, it's one of them is imaginary or something like that, is what the whole thing is. And so it was really cool to realize that, and then also just the fact that his family is disappointed because Frank doesn't show up on Sunday. And it's the son who says, so how long are we going to wait? The son who's kind of becoming a little jerk along the way. But that's part of him acting out because of missing his dad, and he's seeing this guy coming around, and the daughter is actually acting the exact opposite. The daughter seems to be like, no, we need to invite him to dinner, we need to have him around, and all this, because she wants to have that male figure around, whereas the son doesn't want to have that male figure around. He doesn't want to have that replacement father coming in, is what it seems to me. So I thought that was really interesting, and again, there's more of this stuff that's going to play out even more towards the end of the season, that we're going to get to see more of this interaction of. So it's interesting that we have this, like you said, he kind of gives him that little jab of, I'm going to go see your wife, and you can't see your wife, and in fact, it kind of. It plays into, I think it's the next episode when there's a scene between he and Micro that is a little weird, that comes up. But Yeah, so that was interesting, and it was unfortunate that the family had to be left in the lurch like that. But of course, he had good reason. I mean, he was shot with an arrow, and he went to go find this gunner guy. So
Yeah, it's all adding up. Everything's
Yeah.
coming together, and we're on episode 5 now, so
yeah,
and there's how many? 13
9,
episodes?
is it 9 or 10 or what is it? Oh, I'm looking up right now.
I think there's 13 episodes.
Was there that many?
Yeah. I could be wrong.
Yeah, 13. You're correct. 13. So we got quite a bit more to go here, and there's quite a bit more things to discover as I'm looking at episode titles and stuff. But what was your number one? Or I guess we discussed your number one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Did we go over your number one? I forgot for a sec.
Yes, my number one was the road trip. We really
Yeah.
already had discussed it. So
So yeah, we pretty much went through everything that we could think of.
that's all my notes that I have. I don't think I had anything else that jumped out at me, at least from this one. There's going to be a lot of stuff moving forward. You know, there's a lot of storylines we didn't get to see. We didn't see Curtis at all this episode.
No.
We didn't see Lewis at all in this episode. So we don't know necessarily what's going on with them. So I suspect we're going to find out some more about what's going on with them here in the future. Another question, and I only asked this question because I already know the answer from the next episode, but isn't it interesting that Bill is the only one of this unit, this Cerberus unit, that is really kind of successful? You know, you've got Frank, whose family was killed. You've got this guy Gunner, who's hiding out. We really haven't seen anybody else who was part of the Cerberus unit, because I don't think Curtis was part of the Cerberus unit. But yet we have Bill, who knew all this stuff. He was involved in all the same things, but yet he's been successful. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the future. The fact that he's able to be successful.
Yeah, very true. That's definitely something, and especially that he's trying to control everything between Madani and everything that's going on with Frank's investigation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's trying to like poke his way, not to point a pun to it, but he's trying to poke his way into trying to get all the information about Frank. Not that he's not interested in Frank himself, but what Frank is trying to do, and then trying to stop Frank because he does care in some strange way.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, it's like you know that he cares about him in some strange way, and that was like the conversation between Bill and Curtis at the gravesite.
And Bill doesn't even know that Frank is alive yet. We know he's going to find out, and that's one of the things that was a little puzzling with this episode that I did have that I didn't bring up is Frank. Maybe it's because he's already revealed himself to Madani, and he doesn't know what she's going to do with that information, and so he doesn't really care when he's looking at the CIA guy's camera, and he doesn't know that he's talking to Rollins, Agent Orange, but he knows he's talking to somebody who's connected to that guy, and he says, I'm going to come for you, and I'm going to kill you. And he's talking right into the camera and revealing himself to be alive. So I thought that was a little interesting in that, is he, at this point, is he becoming suicidal at this point, that he knows he's on a mission that's going to end with his death, and so he just doesn't care if people now know he's alive? Or does he realize that he knows that sooner or later people are going to figure out he was alive? I'm not really sure what that was about, why he was so blatant to just look directly into the camera and make those statements.
Yeah, we will only find out in the next few episodes.
Correct. Correct.
So, that kind of wraps up the idea of what's going on in this episode. Generally, we go into comic book news, or comic news in general, like movies, TV shows, anything on Netflix.
The only thing I saw today, I finally saw a commercial actually on the CW because I was watching Supernatural from the other night, from last week, and they had a commercial for this Black Lightning show. Is that another DC character, or is that just a okay? So that is an actual DC character.
Yep, I actually watched the episode. It was really good.
Okay.
I was never interested or thought of being interested in Black Lightning. I never knew of the character. That was, I think the character was developed in the late 80s, maybe 90s, or it just was off my radar completely, and I'm not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like dwindled out of comic books, I would say, by the mid-90s. And Ben Beck, who we know, was like talking about it, and I'm like, oh, I really want to see this because it is a CW show. CW is very great with what they do between Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. And they've been doing so great with how they write, and it's like people complain about the whole Scooby Gang in every one of these shows. But it was a perfect format for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was perfect format for Angel. And it worked for all those shows. And honestly, I think it works perfectly. The thing that got me attracted to the CW shows was The Flash. And I came in like a year after. It was after the first season. And I was home, and I was doing paperwork at night for work, and I just had the TV on. There was nothing on. It was at that time when there was nothing on. And I was like, oh, why am I? I'm like, oh, I'll leave it on. And I'm like, hold on. And I stopped work, and I started watching it and going, I got to watch more of this. So I started, it captivated me. Whoever's
Very
doing,
nice.
Yeah, so whoever's doing the writing on these CW shows for DC is actually doing very well. My only problem is the issues with the movies, and they need better writing, and they need the Marvel writers to write for the DC movies.
Yeah.
And the DC writers for TV to write for Marvel.
Yeah.
For their shows.
Are they? Is there any consideration into? And I know there's a, Netflix is separate from Marvel and Disney and all that. Yeah. Is there any consideration of trying to bring these characters into the Marvel, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as far as like Daredevil and Punisher, Jessica Jones, or have they ever said anything about? Are they just going to keep them all separate? Since Netflix owns one side of it.
From what I've read over the past 3 years, about 3 or 4 years, they said that pretty much they would keep these characters almost separate from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in comparison to the Marvel TV
Netflix
universe.
Netflix universe.
Yeah, it's like a TV universe if you think about it, because or Netflix universe. Eventually, it's going to be a Disney universe.
Right.
But the thing is that they are keeping them separate. That's why the Defenders are the Defenders. That's why you see Luke Cage separate. That's why you see Daredevil, Jessica Jones, all that stuff. All this is separate.
Right.
And with DC, what they're doing is pretty much almost similar, where, they have a Flash in their DCU, their, DC Cinematic Universe.
Right,
DCCU.
it's a different Flash. Right,
Yeah.
It's a different Flash than what's on TV.
Exactly. You don't see Grant Gustin in the movies. You only see Grant Gustin on the TV, which
Okay.
Honestly, I think he's perfect for is on the TV. It would have been
Mhm.
perfect if he was in the cinematic universe, but I can understand where they're going, where they want to have that world, and then on
Right.
TV we have this world, kind of like where Smallville was there, and then they brought back with Superman Returns with Brandon Routh.
Right.
And I don't know if Smallville was on at the time, but I saw it as like, okay, yeah, it's two different formats, and you have your TV format and you have your film format. But
Yeah.
whether or not they'll bring Daredevil or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage and Iron Fist in that world, I do not know, and I don't think so. It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame if they don't. But my feeling is, I'm happy with what I got.
Right, right. Oh no, and I'm happy with them being separate because it's so hard to keep up with some of them anyway. So I'm okay with them being separate. I did see, what was it that I was looking at today? People were talking about. Oh, that's what it was. I saw the article. I didn't get to read all of it that Brian posted about Lauren Cohan talking about Maggie's character in Walking Dead. I know this isn't a Walking Dead podcast, but we're just as far as we're into that pop culture section
Yeah,
now.
that's fine. Yeah,
And
it's still comic book related. Walking Dead's based on a comic.
Right, right. So it's going to be interesting to see how her character develops in the second half of the season when we finally get to the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I really want to see a little bit of spoilers. So if anybody does want to hear, shoot ahead about another 5 minutes. So basically, in the comics, Maggie gives birth to baby Herschel, which is Herschel Ree, which is Glenn's son.
So she is actually pregnant.
Yeah, in the comic book she is, and she does give birth. And
Okay.
I really want to see this birth because I'm for the zombie apocalypse on that show. Damn, she's been pregnant for a long time.
Yeah.
She's not showing.
Right.
Hillary Burton is shown so well so recently that when I saw her in November, she's ready to pop, and I think she's
Right.
ready to pop anytime now. Thank God that Jeff is home.
Yeah.
he finished up. A lot of people who are out there. It's like I'm a gamer kind of kid in the back in the day, and I loved the game Rampage. Jeffrey D. Morgan actually is in the movie Rampage.
I saw that trailer and didn't realize he was in it. So I kind of want to see that movie now to see that. I remember the game. I never really played it, but I will. I'll definitely be checking that one out when it comes out because it looks pretty good.
It looks funny. It's got The Rock in it. It's got JDM in it. But Jeff finally finished up filming. I would say mid-January. It's like we're in late January right now. But
Right.
but the thing is like he Hillary wound up like taking a picture of him falling asleep in bed with his son Gus, and it's like thank God he's home. Thank you to everybody from Walker Stalker for bringing my husband back home. So it's like I think he was more happy to be home to hang out with his donkey than the kids.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if the Walking Dead TV show is going to stay true to the comic with his character and keep him alive, or kill him in the future. I know in the comic they basically put him into the prison cell.
Yeah.
There in Alexandria or somewhere, I guess. And then there's some storylines and plots and things with him in the future. I wonder if they're going to try to do that with the TV show as well. That's another one of those things that I don't know if it's going to play out the whole second half of the season, or how that's all going to work. It's going to be interesting to see just how it all plays out.
Yeah, I already have my own thoughts on that stuff. I might bring that to Brian's table on his podcast. And
Yes. So we'll stick with that. I really haven't seen anything else comic related or.
I actually have a few, and you probably heard about it, but I'm jazzed and happy about the idea of Black Panther coming out. The talk is looking great. They're already pre-selling out, so all the pre-sales are sold out for all the events at movies, and I didn't even buy one yet. My feeling is I'm always so late to the game. I didn't even get to see Thor Ragnarok until today.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Thor. I'm horrible about going to see movies, and I have the movie pass, and I still haven't used it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't buy Movie Pass and jump into it right away, because I haven't had time because of the holiday season with work. So I'm just glad at the idea we're going to see Denai Guerrera on the big screen, and on top of that, we get a true African American actor on screen and playing a superhero and doing just right, and we needed something like that. Not only did we get Luke Cage a few years, 2 years ago, and then now we got him. I'm like, I'm honestly, I want more. If I could get Miles Morales as Spider-Man coming out soon after Peter Parker, I would be happy with that.
Right.
Getting two Spider-Man out there, and then one of them being somewhat, being African American and Latino. Yeah, I want to see my diversity in these universes. A lot of people don't like it. I love it. I want it.
Yeah.
But the only other thing a few other things that I have is at work. I work in retail and I do odd things, and services and stuff like that. So I was hanging around the store one day, and they sell DVDs, and I was like, oh, what came out? What did I miss? And this and that and the other. Netflix had a tendency of not releasing their shows on Blu-ray for a long time. So there was a while where you didn't have Orange is the New Black, you didn't have Daredevil. It took years before they came out on Blu-ray. I'm talking about more than a year. I was walking around, and luckily I passed by, and the two shows that I wanted on Blu-ray were there. You got Jessica Jones, and you got Luke Cage on Blu-ray now.
I think I did see those, yes. I think I was walking around. I picked up Blade Runner and Happy Death Day a week or so ago, and I think I saw which Happy Death Day is pretty good. It's all right.
Yeah, it was. I thought it humorous and fun. It was like the darker version of Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, exactly.
So I actually recommended that to Jason Kabasi, and he was just like, I was interested. I'm not really interested now, but since I know somebody whose family member had worked on that film.
Oh, wow.
And actually writing that, I was just like, I gotta watch it.
I enjoyed it, and I'll keep it. I've got, like I said, I went ahead and picked it up on Blu-ray, so I've got it, and I like having physical discs still. I'm not as much the streaming stuff, but
well, yeah, I was glad that Disney actually merged their apps now. If you get My Movies, which is a new downloadable system through Disney, you could actually merge all your video content between Vudu, Google Play, iTunes, and what was it? Vudu, Google Play, iTunes, and there was one other. I forget which. I'm not a
Ultraviolet. Was it Ultraviolet?
Yeah, all the Ultraviolet. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, because that's for me. That's the problem I've had is I bought a lot of these things on disc, and then I've got Better Call Saul on disc, and those go into Ultraviolet, and I
you wind up jumping from device to device.
Yeah.
With this, the way it works, it seems is that all the movies that you get, all can conglomerate to one or all the above. So if you have Vudu, what you had on your iTunes should be able to go to Vudu.
Right.
What you have on Google should go to your iTunes, your Vudu, and your iTunes or whatever. I generally, I'm not a Mac person, but I have an Apple TV. And I have
Yeah.
a tendency of going to my Apple TV, which is the third generation. And I went from 104 movies that I had on iTunes to 148.
Oh wow. Yeah,
To-
I'm gonna have to look at it. I'll have to look
Yeah.
at it and see, because I've got the same thing. I think it's the second or third gen Apple TV, and I basically use it for everything, for Hulu, for Netflix, CBS. I just use it to access everything, and about the only thing I have my cable for anymore is watching sports and a few live TV shows that I DVR.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, same here. And you look at it and you're like, oh wow. But it's only the movies at this point. I'm hoping they grow into the actual TV shows,
Mhm.
because I have my I have Flash, I have Westworld, I got everything is on Ultraviolet, and I have to watch that through Vudu, and I have to go to my Western Digital player because I have an older TV. And,
Yeah.
and I use a Western Digital player to do.
I used to have
Vudu.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I use that. I have two of them. One in my bedroom, one in my main room.
I stopped using my Western Digital because I had so much other stuff, and I had so many things on disc, and a friend of mine needed it, so I went ahead and gave it to him. And I kind of regret it now, because I wish I had that Western Digital again, because there's a few things that I've got on hard drives and stuff that I would love to be able to access. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I've got. I've got the Closer on digital somewhere on a hard drive, all seasons of the Closer, and you can't get that anymore. You have to. I don't think it's streaming anywhere.
No,
And so you have to either buy the discs or have already had it. And so I've got them. I've got it on a hard drive somewhere, and I just can't. I have nothing to access it
well,
with except a computer.
honestly, the only way to do that, and this is not a computer hack kind of thing or anything like that, it's very much knowledgeable. If you have a router that has USB in it,
hmm
and you have an external hard drive that is powered and whatever, you could set your router and connect your hard drive that has all that content on it. As long as it's in the right format, it'll play amongst all of your devices.
Huh.
Yeah.
I hadn't tried that. Okay.
Yeah. I don't do it myself. I usually do things one at a time, like you were saying with the thumb drive. I have
Right.
stuff that I have built on a hard drive that you can't even get anymore. Stuff that I've converted. Like, you can't find the movie Megaforce from 1984.
Wow.
And-
That's you're taking me back, man.
Yeah, well, you can't find that. I had that on VHS. I transferred that to VHS to DVD, and I transferred the DVD to an MP4. Now
Wow.
I have that digitally, and you
Yeah.
can't get it on Blu-ray. You can find
Wow.
it somewhat on DVD on Amazon somewhere for like $50 or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I just recently found on DVD, and it was really cheap. I was really surprised. It's a bad transfer. It's a really old DVD transfer, but the movie Ricochet, Denzel Washington and John
Oh,
Lithgow. I found it on DVD on Amazon for like $8 or $10 or something like that, and so I snatched that up real quick. But there's the one that I've not been able to find, and it's kind of like what you said. If you find one, it's like $50. Is was it Patrick Dempsey, the movie Run, where he was a kid. He was driving a Porsche through this small town and got mixed up in a gambling thing.
oh,
But I think
yes.
the movie was called Run. I can't remember if it was Patrick Dempsey or who it was, but I've never been able to find that streaming or on DVD or anywhere, and I would love to. Yeah, Run. It is Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah,
So-
I remember that movie. He was caught in gambling.
Yeah, he was gambling, and he got into a fight with this big guy, and he tripped him or something, and he fell and hit his head and died, and he was like a mobster's son or something like that. who
Exactly.
he killed.
And then he had to do all these things in order to get out of whatever he had to do. I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, like I was saying, it's like I have Megaforce. I have a bunch of movies that you can't find anymore.
Mhm.
I transferred them to a hard drive. I don't necessarily put them on my network so I could stream it from every device.
Right.
But I do it one by one. But and a lot of people do that, and honestly, that works because you could have almost 1,000 people do this all the time through a company called Kaleidoscape. And you could literally, you don't even have to put in your DVD anymore. Once you put in the DVD, it'll download the cover art and this and that. I'm not trying to sell anybody on this, but I'm just stating that it's out there. And
Right, and so you're saying you
ability.
can just connect the hard drive to your router, and as long as you have a device that can connect to your router, you should be able to access those folders. I may have to try that with my Closer, because I've been wanting to rewatch that, and I just haven't been. And I never thought about just connecting it directly to my router and then seeing if I could. I'll have to try that, see if I can do that.
Yeah, the only thing is if you're using an Apple TV or something, you got to make sure that it's in a format that it could actually play.
Right.
So usually with them, it's their specific format. So if you put it in through, convert that and then put it in through iTunes, and then put it on the hard drive, and then it'll play it from that. And it should be able to play from that through your iTunes as long as your computer's up or the hard drive is available. And I always said that, working in what I do, people do that with their, I've had people with Sonos, and they'll have, I have like a terabyte of MP3 music that I have to have, and they'll have everything. It's like, no, this is FLAC. This is FLAC. It's FLAC audio. And I'm like, okay, all right, fine. And certain devices won't play it. Sonos will. So I had to actually set that up, and people could actually hear it. And, you're talking, I have the Beatles in FLAC. I have this album in FLAC. I have Deep Purple. And I'm like, okay. So we would set that up, and you could actually stream it through whatever device you have, as long as it's on the network and whatever device can pull from it. So my feeling is, it's nothing new. It's nothing that's illegal. As long as you own it, you're fine. These are good tips for anybody out there who wants to actually, do that on their own, because I know that I have way too many movies and DVDs, trust me. And I've been getting rid of a little bit because I've been transferring them to digital and then just selling the physical copies.
Right.
So, so the only things that I keep that you can't really get anymore is steelbooks, Blu-rays, and stuff like that. Yeah. So, I got that recently with a couple of movies and stuff like that. So I got, somebody got me clued into the Kingsman. I watched the first one. I liked it. And I was like, all right. And I saw the second one. I was like, I got to get the first. So I wound up buying that on Steelbook, and it was at a discount at work. So I was like, okay. And then it came with a digital copy for Apple, so I was like, oh, okay. I got that now on that. But there's so much you could do in this medium, and the thing is that there's so much out there. And like I said, there are shows, like I always liked the movie Rad from 1985, and I was a paper boy, and I loved BMXing and all that stuff.
Right.
And, that came out on DVD, and a friend of mine said, dude, it's out there, and I had to get it, and it's on Blu-ray somewhere. I gotta find it, but I found a copy years ago, and I wound up getting it, and I was like, I just watched that over and over again.
Right.
And I'm like, I need to have this on a system in order to watch it, but not until I get my whole situation. Like I said earlier today, I actually had to change out my modem. The DVDs and everything else, you own them. You could actually transfer those to Vudu if you wanted to.
Huh.
They charge you. I'm not advertising by any means, but I'm just stating flat out. A friend of mine had clued me into this about 4 years ago, and he goes, "Yeah, if you, Vudu will do it like $2 or $3 a disc." And I'm like, okay, but what if you have like 1,000? It'll cost you. He goes, do little by little. He goes, think about it. It's like, what do you spend per week on a cup of coffee, or if you go out to lunch? And he broke it down, and I'm like, yeah, you make sense. And then everything will be on your demand, or on streaming. And as long as you have that internet access, you have it. Or unless you have something like an iTunes or something like that, or the new Apple TVs now, which are mimicking the original version 1, that have the built-in hard drives.
Right. Yeah.
So you could always download those to that, and there you have it. But, yeah, Vudu was offering that for a while. So, you have those options.
Yeah.
But just to end it, just to give you an idea, my last name is Kirkman, but this is not promoting Robert in any way. But Mr. Robert Kirkman is coming out with a new comic book in March. And that's being called Oblivion Song. And that's going to be the new kind of post-apocalyptic comic book that's coming out. Very different in comparison to The Walking Dead. There's no dead people walking around. But I'm intrigued on this. He mentioned it at San Diego Comic-Con. And I'm starting to believe that the actual comic book, The Walking Dead, is coming to its final ending. And I'm sorry to say that, it's like Mr. Blog and Gracie Lou, I love them to death. They ended from, under the comic covers
right
recently, and I'm just trying to continue the idea of loving comics, but, Robert is doing this, and they ended their episode on 175, and that showed them at a new frontier. And I'm not saying that it's showing that the comic book is ending, but it shows that there is coming to some sort of resolution, because there's only so many stories that they could say about this. And if any of you out there who read the actual Walking Dead comic book, you're starting to see that slowly with certain characters. So my feeling is keep reading The Walking Dead. It's still going stronger than the actual TV show. So
yeah,
it's like, I'm not trying to sway anybody from the actual TV show. The TV show is still great in my mind. I'll still watch it regardless of writing, regardless of where the show running is going. I've been there since day one. I'm going to stay there until day end.
Exactly.
It's like, I missed Heroes. I was there from day one, and I missed it since they just dropped it because of writers' issues back in the day. And I don't want that to happen to something that I've been following for so long. But the comic book is growing stronger, but it's showing that in the story it's coming to an end eventually. And I think Robert is doing that with a lot of things, because Invincible is actually ending soon. Its last comic is coming out in another month or two, and I plan on seeing that to its end too. I was reading that for a while. But the new one, Oblivion Song, I do recommend picking it up when it comes out. Everybody else out there, pick up the Doomsday Clock from DC. And keep reading those comics and keep watching those shows. That's what I love to do, and I'm hoping that's what you guys love to do, because that's what I love to talk about, and that's what Steve and I are talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're talking about The Punisher, and hopefully eventually we'll start talking about a movie, and it will be a one-off at least, instead of a continuous thing. But my feeling is I want to see this Punisher thing seen through. Hopefully Steve will come back on episode 6.
Absolutely.
There you go. So then we could finish this lovely show up. Pake might actually come back, and Avellino had mentioned that he wants to come back, so I'll hit them up when when everything slows down with them. But it's like, even if it's another having 3 people on, to me, I encourage it. The more voices, the better. But I hope everybody else enjoyed the show, and hope everybody enjoys listening. Keep in touch. Follow us on Facebook, on Panels to Pixels on Facebook. You could email us at panelstopixels1@gmail.com with anything you want to discuss. We'll read it out loud. I have not seen anything on the actual Facebook, and I've not received any email. So if you guys really want to get in on this, just shoot us a message through Facebook, shoot us an email, and there you have it. Thank you for listening in to Panels to Pixels, and thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good night, everybody.
Good night.